The Obama administration says it's only fitting that the man who claims he masterminded the September 11th attacks face justice in New York City. But critics say that's the last place Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and other 9/11 suspects should be tried. The long-awaited announcement unleashing a lot of emotion about one of the nation's darkest days and the ongoing war on terror. Our Homeland Security correspondent Gene Meserve has more on what's going on, the travel plans of these five guys.
Yeah, and boy, the firestorm of controversy began even before the official announcement that the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks would be brought to New York for trial, along with 4 other alleged conspirators. Just blocks from where the World Trade Center once stood, the men who allegedly plotted its destruction will face trial in a federal court. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who has confessed his role, and 4 others will be moved from the detention center at Guantanamo Bay to New York City. Attorney General Eric Holder says prosecutors will seek the death penalty, and he thinks they will get it.
I'm quite confident that we're going to be successful in the prosecution efforts.
Critics lunged. They say moving the terror prosecutions out of military commissions increases the likelihood of acquittals and even the release of terrorists into the United States, though current law prohibits that.
They still should not be transferred to U.S. soil where they might get additional rights, where they will have a public platform, where evidence might come out that will impede our ability to gather intelligence or conduct surveillance on individuals.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was waterboarded 183 times, and defense attorneys will likely use that to try to block the use of his confessions. And there may be other challenges.
Well, I think there's good reason to believe that KSM will seek to use this proceeding as a platform to spout jihadist rhetoric, and it will be a challenge for the court to control that.
The Attorney General also announced Friday that the man charged with plotting the attack on the USS Cole and 4 others will be tried in military commissions, not civilian courts. An attorney for one of them is critical of what he sees as a 2-tiered justice system.
Omar Khadr is going to face a lesser form of justice simply because the evidence is not good enough to convict him in a real courtroom, a real federal courtroom.
No announcement yet on where those military commissions will be held, and no word on how the administration will deal with the other 200 or so detainees still at Guantanamo, which the U.S. still hopes to close in the new year, Wolf.
It's really a bombshell of a decision that came out today. I understand you've got a statement from the former Attorney General, the immediate predecessor of Eric Holder.
That's right. Michael Mukasey gave a speech this afternoon. He called this decision unwise. He said these people should be tried at Guantanamo Bay, not like conventional criminals in conventional courts.
And we're going to be speaking with Alberto Gonzales, yet another Bush Attorney General, later here in the Situation Room. Thanks very much, Gene, for that. The plan to try these 9/11 suspects only blocks away from Ground Zero strikes many New Yorkers as truly too close for comfort. Let's go to CNN's Tom Foreman. He's over at the Magic Map to show us the locations of these various events.
Wolf, I want to look back at this. This is a computer rendering we have of what the towers look like a little bit over 8 years ago when this attack took place. And we all know what a shock it was. And now the trials will actually not be far from here. In fact, the people who are being blamed for much of this are being brought back to the actual site. And there are a lot of inherent problems with that. But before we get on to that, I want to move from this image, just so you have a sense of this, because you know this is going to come up in the trial a good bit, to take a look at what it looks like now as time has changed. The towers, of course, have disappeared. And as you move in, if you get a chance to go to New York, as many tourists have, you go to Ground Zero and you see what is there right now. The World Trade Centers had been targeted before in 1993. As we know, back then, the attacks were carried out. They tried to blow up a bomb. They did blow up a bomb in the basement, hoping to topple the buildings. They did not succeed in toppling the buildings, but in fact, they killed 6 people, and people went to prison over that. Those trials also happened in much the same way. But these trials, for the people convicted of making this, or excuse me, accused of making this happen, and that they're hoping to convict for this, will happen a very short distance away. If we fly back up from where we are on the ground here, from Ground Zero, we can move over toward the courthouse, and you can see that it's really only about 10 blocks away, depending on how you get there. And this, in fact, was where Ramzi Youssef and Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman were tried for the original 1993 bombing. And there will be tremendous security around this, of course. It's right in the heart of Manhattan here as these 5 men are brought forward. Obviously, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is one everyone knows about. They were all captured in Pakistan, and 3 of them were people who, at least 3 of them were people who are believed to have volunteered to be people flying planes that day leading these attacks, but they couldn't get into the country to make that happen. That's what the prosecutors will have to say. But all that's going to happen right here in Lower Manhattan, Wolf, not very far from where the attack on the World Trade Center itself occurred, and no doubt there will be a lot of security and an awful lot of interest in the not distant future. Wolf.
We just got a statement from the U.S. Marshal's office saying they're sure they can provide the security that will be necessary. Tom, thank you. Dozens of detainees remain at Guantanamo Bay as the president struggles to keep his promise to close the prison camp by January 20th of next year. Our foreign affairs correspondent Jill Doherty is here with more on this part of the story. So what's going to happen to these remaining detainees, Jill?
Well, Wolf, you know, it's a very slow and complicated process trying to get other countries to take detainees. There are major security and legal issues, but the State Department has been able to resettle some of them. And here's the latest information CNN is getting from the State Department. So out of a total of 215 detainees, 25 have been transferred, 9 went to their home countries, and another 16 went to third countries. That's France, Belgium, Bermuda, Portugal, Ireland, and Palau. And then there will be more transferees. 90 detainees have been approved, 40 of them will go to third countries, and 50 of them will go to their home countries. But you know, there's one complication here, that most of those 50 are from Yemen, and they can't go home because there's a conflict underway with insurgents. So here's the bottom line, according to Attorney General Eric Holder.
I think it's going to be difficult to close the facility by January the 22nd. And one of the things that I think is most problematic in that regard is trying to relocate the people who are going to be approved for transfer, finding places where they can be safely placed, both for the nation that will host them and for American citizens. I'm not sure we're going to be able to complete that process by January the 22nd, though we are constantly in the process of trying to do exactly that.
And that still leaves 100 who are in limbo. They could be tried in civil or military courts or released. Wolf?
It's a huge headache problem for this administration. Yeah. Thanks very much, Jill Doherty. And stand by. We're going to continue our coverage of the breaking news, including a debate over these plans to try these 9/11 suspects in civilian court in New York City. The former New York governor, George Pataki, he'll face off against the Democratic Congressman Joe Sestak. They have very different views on the Obama administration's decision today.